Welcome back to The Hook on Woodward Sports Network, Detroit's all-digital sports network. Man, is it a fun show for us here. We've got the voice of Oakland University sports and Detroit City FC, Neil Rule, joining us. And now we're about to be joined by the voice of Pistons radio for the last 23 years, Mark Champion. Mark, welcome to the show.
It is great to be with you. And especially with Neil, because he is the reason he wins all the golf outings is because he stacks his team. Now, he won't play with me or you. He won't play with me or you. No, just kidding.
We know that, Mark.
We see what's going on.
We know
now.
his secret.
Phil Jackson's in the Hall of Fame, and Coach Jordan and Kobe. It's a proven.
I don't
formula.
blame you.
It's a proven formula.
I'm not blaming you at all. You showed Bo Jackson there. It's an interesting story. I was the voice of the Buccaneers back in those days.
Yes, you were.
And Tampa Bay had the number one pick and took Bo Jackson. That was 1986, I think it was. Took Bo Jackson, even though Bo told them, "Do not draft me. I will not play for you." They went ahead and drafted him, and he did not play for them, and went back into the draft the next year, and the Oakland Raiders took him, and Tampa Bay basically wasted a pick on Bo Jackson, but they would have had him.
Didn't they do that with Steve Young as well?
Well, no, Steve Young, the Bucs signed him as a free agent out of the USFL, and he played two seasons, 85 and 86.
Yeah.
And the team was terrible, had back-to-back 2 and 14 seasons. And Steve Young was the quarterback, and it was just an awful team. He had no chance, and they ended up trading him to San Francisco for very little. Let's put it that way. I don't remember exactly. But they had Steve Young. They drafted Bo Jackson. They had Steve Young. I mean, on and on it goes for Tampa Bay's history back in those days.
I know, and they were, of course, the first winless team in 1976. They actually went almost 2 full seasons without a win. That was some Bucs team.
They did. They got their first win against New Orleans. Hank Stram was the coach, and it cost him his job. He got fired. And then they came back home and beat the then St. Louis Cardinals at the old Sombrero, and ended up with 2 wins. And then in 1979, the team went to the NFC Championship game. That was my first year with the Buccaneers, 79, and lost 9-0 to the Los Angeles Rams. Yeah,
that's right.
Had a great defense.
Ferragamo. That was a hell of a team, man. And
Doug Williams was quarterback.
Then we had Then we had you here for the Lions. All those great Barry Sanders years and those '90s teams that could have went to the Super Bowl.
Had some good teams. Should have been a little more successful. Of course, 91 came close, and then it just didn't follow up. We had some. It was 93, I think, was a pretty good year, and so they had some good teams. If the Lions would have just had a quarterback, if they would have had Steve Young as their quarterback, or even Doug Williams, it might have been different. But just couldn't get to that quarterback, and I think that's the big difference in the Lions.
Mark Champion joins us, longtime radio voice of the Detroit Pistons. We're talking a little NBA with you now. And I know you watch the games because I know you tweet, and I tweet, and Neil tweets, and we all go after each other. I'll say Tibbs is going to be the NBA Coach of the Year at midseason for the Knicks. So you're like, Maz, you don't know what you're talking about, and so on and so forth. But takes me to my Nets, the old New Jersey / now Brooklyn Nets, and the way that team was built. Obviously, Kevin Durant comes over last year, could not play. James Harden joins them this year. Kyrie Irving joins them. The three of them, the big three as they call them, didn't really play together all season. They were all different times injured. They make it in to the Eastern semifinals against a pretty good Bucks team, and they battled all year back and forth. But this was a hell of a series. Just tell me what you thought of that whole series and Kevin Durant putting that team on his back.
Well, I think the whole NBA playoffs, it's unfortunate with all of the injuries. I think that's affected the way things are going. I mean, Phoenix with a critical injury. The Clippers have had a critical injury. Brooklyn, I think if they would have had their quote big three together the entire time, it would probably be a different outcome. I mean, Kevin Durant is, I think, maybe the best player in the NBA. I know, it's up for discussion. But I think Durant is just amazing. But Harden obviously was just a shell of himself, and Kyrie was hurt. So if he had all three of those guys and they were 100%, I think it would have been a different outcome. But that's the way it goes. You got to next man up, and Milwaukee was able to get it done. I think Milwaukee, obviously DiVincenzo getting hurt hurts their depth a little bit, but they're still awfully good, and it'll be an interesting finals with Atlanta. I think Milwaukee will win that series, but who knows?
Mark Champion joining us here on The Hook on Woodward Sports. And Mark, as you said, Maz, longtime voice of the Detroit Lions, longtime voice of the Detroit Pistons as well. A little tidbit, too. That's the Disney commercial voice you hear for the Super Bowl. Yeah, and that's kind of my favorite stat about Mark Champion's career. I talk to him about that when we are on the golf course, when I don't pick him to be on my scramble teams. We have talked about that in the past. But, Mark, see if you agree with me on this, that it really is unfortunate, the whole COVID situation. We really shoehorned this NBA season into existence. You lived it. You were calling the games and everything like that. I mean, there was not a lot of downtime. There was not a lot of decompression time. I mean, from the time the finals wrapped up till now, there just wasn't that typical rest time that players get. And I think that the league, I guess you would say, just from I saw a stat somewhere where only one of the top 15 selling jerseys are still in the playoffs right now. So, I mean, when you look at it from that perspective, Mark, I mean, NBA fans, we're kind of paying the price right now, really, for just how short the offseason was, because, as you said, this was kind of an unprecedented run of injuries that we've seen.
Yeah, very much so. But it's hard to say, well, if it had been a normal season, there wouldn't have been those type of injuries. So I don't know. An ankle's an ankle. I don't know what that has to do with, the situation the league has been in the last year or so. Maybe hamstrings and pulls and things like that, but a turned ankle, that could happen anywhere. But it's just, it's an unfortunate thing. I give the league a lot of credit for figuring out a way to continue to play. I think that was important. And I know there's been some pushback on it, but I just think it was good to have basketball. And the way we're hearing things, it's going to be back to normal for next season. Looks like we're going to have a full 82-game schedule. We'll have off-season. We'll have preseason. And it looks like things will get back to normal. So we're waiting on that. It really hurt. I think it really hurt a team like the Pistons because you had so many young players who were not able to play in Summer League and in some cases in the G League. And I kind of, it set back their development a little bit. I think it hurt Killian Hayes in addition to his injury. But, it's just kind of the way it is. You just have to work your way through it. And I think there's light at the end of the tunnel, certainly for the Pistons, with the way Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart and, even Saban Lee played. And then you've got some young players, young veteran players. And then, as you guys were talking about, the Pistons have a great chance to get a star. And I think that's what they need. I heard somebody talking about Pistons. The one thing they need is a star. And I agree with that. I think it's, they need to find that star player to build the team around. Now, Jeremy Grant had an outstanding season. But is he a superstar player? Probably not. But he's certainly, a very good player, a Tobias Harris type player who can be very, very effective. But they don't have Giannis. So that's, that's the sort of thing the Pistons have got to find. They've got to find whether it's Cade Cunningham or I think a lot of people are excited all of a sudden about Jalen Green.
Mark, what is your take on the play-ins? Was that something that you were for, something you're against, something you hope doesn't happen again? I feel like there's so many mixed emotions on how people felt about it. Personally, I kind of liked them.
I loved them.
I agree with you.
I didn't think I was going to like them, but I liked them.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think it's a good thing. I think it maybe goes to we'll have less of the tanking issues of teams trying to lose on purpose. They've tried to clean that up. I don't know what the answer is. Rick Mahorn and I have talked about it, about maybe you just, the team with the worst record gets the first pick and you go all the way down and just do it that simple, or maybe the 15 worst teams. I don't know. But No, I liked it. And the other thing I like it, and I hope the league keeps when it gets to scheduling, is the 2-game series. Matt's a big baseball guy, so baseball has 3 and 4 game series, or sometimes 2. But I think I like that. I like those 2-game series with teams, and I hope they keep that.
That was fun. I love that. Almost even a home and home if you could pull it off. But if they want to cut down on travel,
yeah.
two games here at LCA is fine. Then 2 games in Milwaukee. I dug it as well, Mark. And I wanted to ask you about the draft lottery before we get back into the rest of the teams. Tomorrow is the draft lottery. Pistons have not had a chance. They have not moved up in this draft lottery so far. So I think they're 0 for like 10 or something like that. They usually move down to the 6 or 7 spot. Neil and I were talking. Neil kind of has a hunch this year that they're going to get a top 3 pick. What's your hunch on that?
Well, I hope so. I hope he's right. Who knows? We'll find out. What is it? 8:30 tomorrow night.
Yep.
So
at Brooklyn.
But they can drop no lower than 6th. So, and there are said to be, I think, a good solid top 5 players before you have any sort of drop off. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the Pistons move up a couple of spots, and I certainly hope they do. I really do. I mean, Troy Weaver has done a magnificent job. He's said he was going to be aggressive, and he has been. He said there probably will not be as much movement this offseason for the team. But there's bound to be some changes in the roster. But I like the building blocks that this team has. Again, if we get that star player and add a few others here and there, I think things will be fine. But I hope, Neil, I hope you're right, man. I hope it's one of the top 3. That would be exciting.
Hey, voice of the Pistons, Mark Champion. Hey, can you hold with us? We got a quick 30-second break. We'll come back and chat a little bit more if you got time.
Oh, I'm going to just look at my Cub hat.
Okay.
And,
Attaboy. I know you're a Cub guy, and they're having a pretty good year. I loved watching them against the Tigers, by the way.
Go Cubs.
I know. Go ahead. You and Swirsky, both of you. Anyway, we'll be back here on The Hook. Neil Rule, Pilar Lastra, Tom Mazaway, and, of course, Mark Champion right here on Woodward Sport.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Hook here on Woodward Sports. My name is Neil Rule, in for Darren McCarty. He'll be back coming up in just a little bit. Pilar with us, as always, Tom Mazaway as well, and we're joined by Mark Champion, the radio voice of the Detroit Pistons, a long time with the Detroit Lions as well, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's done it at a high level for a very, very long time. And Mark, we touched on
very long.
Yeah, very long time.
You love it. You love it. What else are you going to do?
Well, Matt, I mean, Mark, it's the best job in the world, isn't it, man? I mean, especially being in the NBA and Giannis and LeBron and Maz. Maz has been kind of lamenting Utah and everything like that, and talking about these big leads that have been blown in the NBA playoffs. But Mark, these are the 5, 6, 7, 8 best scorers in the world. It's not easy to just say, "Hey, we're going to stop Giannis," or "Hey, we're going to stop Durant," or "Hey, we're going to stop James Harden." These are the best in the world at what they do, Mark, and you're sitting there. You have front row seat for all of it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've been blessed with that, and it's it's terrific to see these athletes, and I know NBA gets criticized occasionally, but I tell you what, they have I think the best athletes in the world, and they're fantastic. The game is fantastic. I think they've addressed over the years things that need to change, and there's a couple of things that I hope they address in rules for next season, and will make the game even better. But it's so much fun, and it'll be nice to get back to actually being in the arenas. Now, we were for the Pistons home games, but not for the road. I was sitting in a studio at LCA with Rick Mahorn, which is no bargain, by the way.
Not at all.
But no,
Can't confirm.
I can't even call him without him breaking my balls.
He's the best.
I can't.
He's the best. He's the best. But sitting in a studio calling a game off a computer screen is not the best way to do things. But I understand, by the way, that the radio crews left the Final Four are going to be allowed to travel. So that's good news. And that means Al McCoy, at age 86 or 87, whatever he is, still getting it done. And our man Steve Holman down in Atlanta, who's got that consecutive games broadcast streak going. And the young guy, Noah Eagles, 22 years old. and doing extremely well. He'll be on network TV before all is said and done. Yeah,
he did the Nickelodeon
good.
NFL game this year. He did a great job.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. This guy in your studio here, Neil Rule. One of these days, he's got to get an NBA gig. I know he's had a couple of opportunities and got to keep working at it. He's filled in for me a few times when I jumped over and did TV. And he actually did a Chicago Bulls game when Neil Funk was sick and couldn't go. And so Chuck Swirsky jumped over to TV and they called Neil. Luckily, he wasn't out on the golf course, and he was able to jump in there and
I was on my
jump
way,
in there and do the and do the broadcast. So he's known out there. It's just a matter of finding that opportunity.
Hey,
I appreciate those words, Mark. Thank you.
Speaking of talented voices, how about Marv Albert? One of my faves. I grew up listening to him.
He's the best.
He's doing his last series coming up here, the Eastern Finals.
Yeah, he's terrific. I mean, one of the greatest. He's 80 years old and still strong. I mean, I still think he sounds great. The other guy is Hubie Brown. I mean, he's 86, 87 years old and absolutely fabulous. I know his son. His son works on the New York Knicks broadcasts, and Hubie is just. I mean, he's excellent. And I'll tell you who else is. I think one of the absolute best is Doris Burke. I think Doris does a great job as well on the network level.
I love those TNT guys too. Is there a better show on television than the TNT NBA on TNT? I mean, Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and of course Charles Barkley. I mean, we pull cuts every single day and play them. That's how much I love. I just would watch them even if I didn't like basketball.
Yeah. Oh no, they're very entertaining, and the NBA, the whole NBA. Package I think is fantastic and only getting better, and the talent is so good, and it's going to be interesting. What is it? It's either next year or the year after the one and dones kind of go away, and the superstars like LeBron can come directly out of high school and into the NBA. So that's going to be interesting. And obviously, I know Greg Campy and some of the college coaches know that the landscape in college basketball is going to change dramatically as a result of that.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I'm kind of happy to see that because they always say, right, like the NCAA always talks about you have to treat the student athletes the same way as a regular student body. And if there was a chemistry whiz that was in college and say DuPont or Dow Chemical wanted to hire them, they could. I mean, theoretically, they could just leave college. So if a regular student can do that, why can't a player? Why? I mean, what is the difference? Why do they have to stay to where a regular student, if they were a piano prodigy or whatever, they could leave and go to work? I don't understand how you can stop someone from saying, hey, I want to go make a living, and this is a quote unquote free market society we live in. I've never understood how you could stop that. I mean, I have my ideas that, and Mark, you know this. Sometimes you have to protect owners from themselves. I guess you would say. But with all that being said, I never understood that how you could say no. And baseball does the same thing, Maz. As you know, if you go to college, you're obligated to be there for 3 years. I don't understand it, man. If you're talented, if you're a regular student, you can go. Why can't you go if you're a student athlete?
Yeah, I think the only negative about it is the fundamentals. Players come out, are they fundamentally ready for the next level? I think that is a concern. So that would be the only negative to it. I mean, you do have the G League. Players right now are actually going to the G League Ignite program, and so it's going to be interesting going forward to see what happens. But I was looking at the top 5 or 10 players available for the draft. They're all 18 and 19 years old. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Mark, one of the questions that I like to ask legends that have been in the industry for a long time. So before we let you go, I have to know. Give me one of your greatest memories that you woke up after some great something that happened and you were like, wow, this is real. This is my life. I am living the dream.
That's a good question. Very good question. I think mine is more of a body of work. I've just been so blessed to do a number of things in a number of different sports. I think my body of work with Barry Sanders to have called every run that he ever made I think that's a blessing. I mean, it was just fantastic, and you don't think about it until after it's all over, and you look back on it and say, "Wow!" And so I think that's one. The Disney thing you brought up. I mean, that's been an honor to do that over the years. To do the Disney commercials, such an iconic thing to know my 4 seconds worth with the iconic line, and so there's that. I mean, I had a chance for CBS Radio to work the 1997 Masters Golf Championship, and that was where Tiger Woods won his very first Masters. So it was great to be part of that. I did a NFL game for Westwood One over in Europe, in London at I'm not sure it was the old Wembley or the new Wembley. That was the first NFL regular season game outside of North America. And so I had in this business long enough, and you have a lot of talent. I don't know what mine is, but I've been blessed to do a lot of things, and now with the Pistons to be part of a championship in 2004, and hopefully get back there again. I mean, it kind of goes on and on. It's hard to narrow down to one person or one event.
It's all good. Well, happy to have you, and happy to hear your voice all this time here in Detroit. Was Super Bowl 21 the first Disney? Was it Phil Simms? Was that your first Disney?
I believe it. Yeah, I think so. I think it was Phil Simms. And back in those days, we used to do the NBA as well. And I think the last year we did the NBA was Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's last year in 98, I think it was. And so we used to do that. We did baseball. We did some baseball. We did Miss America one time.
Oh.
Betty Sue Smith, you just won Miss. So they all had 3 names.
Of course.
All the Miss America candidates, 3 names. But a lot of fun. A lot of fun. It's been a long road. This will be 28 years coming up with the Pistons, and over 50 years in the business. So if you hang around long enough, you'll get a chance to do some things. They haven't caught up with me yet. Might be around. I might have to employ. Who was it? Minnie Minoso. Was it Minnie Minoso or no? Who was it who said, "Don't look behind you"? Somebody.
Page.
Satchel Paige. That's right.
Yes.
Satchel Paige.
Don't
So I try not to do that.
All right. Hey, we appreciate you coming on, MC. You got to give us a holy mackerel before you leave, by the way.
Holy mackerel, Neil.
There you go.
When are you going to call me for golf?
There you go.
We gotta tee it up.
I'm actually, yeah. Let's. I'll get you out over at the Orchards by my house. I'll call you. All right.
Absolutely. I'd love to play. Now I play from the senior tees.
Yeah. Well, you're buying the drinks too.
I'm 71 years old, so I gotta get some help.
No, that's the forward tees. We'll call that one. They're not senior
The
tees.
forward tees.
Yeah, it's not an age thing, Mark. No, it's on me, but you'll pick up the bar tab. Cool?
Absolutely.
All right, we
Sweet
got
tea.
You got it. Arnold
Pilar, nice to meet you. I haven't met you in person, but very nice to meet you.
Yes, likewise. It's been a real honor.
I know you deserve a lot of credit putting up with Mazaway, but he's a great guy. Tom is a great guy. Great guy.
Really
we had a chance to work together a few times, so he's the best. Even though he is a Yankee fan.
That's right.
I mean, listen, if we must all have our flaws, right?
We all look past it.
Exactly. All right, MC. We'll see you again, man.
Appreciate it, Mark.
Yeah.
Good luck on the Pistons this year. Come on now.
Appreciate it.
Let's get a superstar.